You know, Alex, people think of plumbing as the dark arts of home maintenance. They approach a leaky pipe like they're trying to defuse a bomb with a pair of kitchen tongs and a prayer. But honestly, it's just like Legos, only the pieces are heavier, and if you mess up, your living room becomes a swimming pool.
And that's exactly why people are terrified. It's the swimming room potential that keeps the professional plumbers in luxury trucks. Although, I did see you staring at the kitchen sink for 40 minutes yesterday, like you were trying to telepathically fix a drip.
I wasn't staring, I was listening. That rhythmic tink, tink, tink at 3 in the morning, it's not just water hitting the basin, it's the sound of my bank account slowly draining away. One drip a second? That's over 2,000 gallons a year. That's enough to fill a decent sized backyard pond just by being lazy.
Okay, let's save the ponds. If I'm that homeowner hearing the thump of the water bill hitting my porch, where do we actually start? Because most of us just tighten the handle until it snaps, which I'm guessing is not the pro move.
Yeah, the Gorilla Grip is basically how we ensure we have to buy a whole new fixture. Usually, with a drip, the villain of the story is a tiny little rubber circle worth about 50 cents. The O-ring. Or the washer. These things spend their whole lives being squeezed and bathed in mineral-heavy water, and eventually, they just get tired and lose their shape.
So before I call a guy named Lefty who charges 200 bucks just to park in my driveway, I should be looking at the guts of the faucet.
Exactly. You shut off the water valves under the sink, which, by the way, is a great time to find out if those valves actually work. And you take the handle off. Often it's just a worn out cartridge or a bit of grit stuck in the aerator. That little mesh screen at the tip of the spout, it catches all the pebbles and calcium chunks coming through the pipes. If your water pressure feels like a tired garden hose, that's almost always the first place to look.
Wait, I've had that. I thought my house just had low energy water. You're saying I just need to soak that little screen in some vinegar?
Vinegar is the secret sauce for plumbers, Alex. It eats through calcium like a hot knife through butter. But if you've cleaned the screen and your pressure still feels like a soggy handshake throughout the whole house, you've got to go to the source. Check the main shutoff valve near your meter. Sometimes someone bumps it and it's only halfway open. Or your pressure regulator, that bell-shaped thing on the main line, has finally kicked the bucket.
Soggy handshake pressure. I'm using that. But let's talk about the real monster under the bed, the clogged drain. I've seen people dump a whole gallon of that blue liquid fire down there and then act surprised when the pipes start smoking.
Whatever you do, don't tell the chemical companies I said this, but those harsh cleaners are basically like trying to cure a headache by hitting yourself with a hammer. They're brutal on old pipes. I tell people to go for the baking soda and vinegar combo first. It fizzes up like a science fair volcano and can break loose the greasy gunk. And if that doesn't work, get a plunger. But not the one you use for the toilet. Get the flat bottom sink plunger.
There's a difference? I thought a plunger was a plunger.
Oh, big difference. A toilet plunger has that extra flap of rubber, the flange, that sticks out to seal the throat of the bowl. A sink plunger is just the cup. If you try to use a toilet plunger on a flat sink, you're just splashing gray water all over your shirt and accomplishing nothing but a workout you didn't ask for.
Okay, Tiger, let's move to the most annoying sound in the world. The phantom flush. The toilet that just starts running in the middle of the night for 3 seconds, then stops. Is my house haunted, or do I just need to start writing checks?
It's the flapper, Alex. Every time. That big rubber stopper at the bottom of the tank, over time it gets warped or a little bit of slime builds up on the rim. It lets just a tiny trickle out, the tank level drops, and the fill valve kicks on to top it off. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom.
Is that the food coloring trick I keep hearing about?
Best diagnostic tool in the kit. Drop a little blue or red food coloring in the tank, the back part, and wait 15 minutes. Don't flush. If you see the water in the bowl turning colors, you've got a leak. It's a 5-minute fix. You don't even need tools usually. You just pop the old flapper off its hinges and snap a new one on.
Even I can do that. But what about the scary stuff, like pipes freezing when the temperature drops to Arctic despair levels? I know you've got a story there.
Oh, I've got more than a story. I've got a scar on my ego from a winter in 1998. I left a garden hose attached to the outside bib, the faucet on the outside of the house. The temperature tanked, the water in the hose froze, and it backed up into the pipe inside the wall. When water freezes, it expands with enough force to split copper like a ripe grape. I didn't know it was broken until April, when I turned the hose back on and heard a waterfall inside my drywall.
Ouch. So the lesson is, disconnect your hoses before you start seeing your breath?
Every single year. And if you suspect the pipe is currently frozen, like your faucet won't turn on in the morning, turn off the main water immediately. because once that ice melts, you're going to find out exactly where the crack is, and you don't want the whole city's reservoir trying to join you for breakfast through your kitchen floor.
Okay, so we've covered drips, clogs, and freezing. But let's talk about the hot stuff, the water heater. I've lived in houses where the hot water just disappears halfway through a shower. It's a betrayal of the highest order.
The water heater is the heart of the home, and when it's unhappy, nobody's happy. If you've got gas, first thing is checking that pilot light. Winds or a weird pressure drop can blow it out. If it's electric, check your breaker panel at the start of the troubleshoot. But if you've got one of those fancy tankless units, man, they're picky.
Picky how? I thought they were supposed to be the limitless hot water dream.
They are until they aren't. They have minimum flow rates. If you've got one of those ultra low flow shower heads that only puts out a mist, it might not be pulling enough water to tell the heater to fire up. It's like trying to start a marathon with a light stroll. Sometimes you have to take the restrictor out of the faucet just to get the heater to wake up. Plus, they have drain lines for condensation. If that little plastic tube gets clogged or freezes outside, the whole system just shuts down for safety.
So sometimes the fix for no hot water is just clearing a tiny plastic tube?
Often as not, troubleshooting is really just a game of eliminate the cheap stuff first. You don't start by tearing out the walls. You start by seeing if the plug is in the wall or if a screen is dirty.
I feel like that applies to life in general, Tiger.
Doesn't it just... Look, the biggest tip I can give anyone is this. Know where your main shutoff is. Paint it bright red. Hang a sign on it. Because when a pipe decides to let go at 2 a.m., you don't want to be playing hide and seek with the valve while your basement turns into a lake.
That's a fair takeaway. Don't be the person looking for the valve with a flashlight while standing in 2 inches of water.
Exactly. Respect the water, but don't fear it. Most of this stuff was designed to be maintained by regular folks. You just need to be willing to get your hands a little damp and have a box of O-rings on standby.
And maybe a spare set of dry clothes.
Oh, definitely. At least 2 sets.
Thanks for the schoolin', Tiger. I think I'm going to go home and try that food coloring trick on my guest bathroom, just to see if I'm harboring any secret water thieves.
Good luck. And remember, if the water starts winning, there's no shame in calling the pros. Some tuition is best paid in cash rather than in flooded flooring.
Catch you next time in the den.
Stay handy.